It's a little bit meaty. It's a little bit sort of rustic.
So you're drinking meat and rust?
Tastes like paint and wood.
Too fancy, too furious. Too fancy, too furious wine. Don't know a thing about wine, so I'm gonna learn today. Just like the last time, I am not fancy.
Come here, little fella. I want to tell you a secret. I'm just like
Me?
you.
Oh.
We're both down here in the dirt. Mine just happens to be imported. You are fighting in traffic, and I am fighting charges of trafficking.
Wow.
We're so similar. You're working a 9-to-5 job, and I am having to look at that. We're both going through it. So don't hate me.
Hate the
I'm
game.
not the problem. It's the wine snobs.
The wine snobs?
And frankly, I don't blame him. No, he's learning. Listen, let me pull you up by your bootstraps. What if I made you my little Pygmalion? That's a reference that you wouldn't get. You know what? Perhaps I shall make a series of videos that will give you some sort of clue about fancy things. Yes, that's what I'll do. Something to give you just enough information to bluff your way through a fancy dinner.
I want to, in my lifetime, maybe once, go to a dinner that might cost about $500 or a little bit more, just to get the experience and never do it again. If it never happens in my lifetime, I am fine with it. Burger King is just fine. Well, I'll take that back. Wendy's is just fine with me. It's cool. Or home cooked meals. That's fun too. But sure, I wouldn't mind living a lie. Just for a day.
That Dan.
I don't know if y'all heard that, but my dog is barking. She's scared the living shit out of me.
Did you know that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa?
Somebody had to hold open the gates for the barbarians. Why not me? So let's do it. Let's look at
Wine. Wine. Wine.
the Mountain Dew of upper society. With wine, there is only one rule. Kill or be killed.
Okie dokie.
And if you want to survive the night, here are 6 things you should know about wine. To you muggles, the words on these bottles must seem like a mystery.
Pie not no ire?
I've watched American Greed where a guy scammed some people thinking that he had some good fancy wine, charging $1,000 a bottle. People just want to be able to say they could spin, I guess. I don't know. I always find American Greed some amazing stuff. It is so fascinating to see how people can get away with things. And you know, they can get away with it if they weren't so greedy.
Pie not no ire?
Pie, no,
But us
no, I know.
landlords, we, the pink
Merlot, I heard
Himalayan
that.
salt of the earth,
Rosé? Yeah, I
we
heard
know
that.
what they mean.
Just
They
because
are
of rappers.
Grape names.
Oh,
Look
grape
up on
names.
this grapevine. It makes grape berries. Now, there are many different species of grape berry. And whatever the berry species is will determine the type of wine. This is Chardonnay, so it will make Chardonnay.
yes, yeah.
Merlot grapes, they
Merlot,
make
yep.
Merlot wine. Grape names are mostly French. Gross. But for example, in English, Pinot Noir means black pine, because it kinda looks like a black pine cone, if you squint. Here's some of the other names. You can pause it. I'm busy.
Chardonnay, named after a village called Chardonnay from the Latin. And wines. There they are.
Wine grapes are not like the kind you get at the supermarket. Those are table grapes.
People.
You can think of it kind of like the difference between cooking chocolate and regular chocolate. You can eat them, but they're overly sugary and kind of full of seeds and just not as nice to snack on.
Oh.
So the grape type is the main word on the bottle, but sometimes there are other words as well. For example, this Bourgogne. What the hell is a Chablis? It's all regions. Allow me to explain through the medium of song.
Hey!
There's Chianti and Piedmont, and also there's Burgundy. Don't forget Chablis Bordeaux. This one's from Italy, this one's from Italy, this one's from France, this one's from France, this one's from France, this one's from France. They're all from France. We're Italy. Look, the general rule is, if you see a term you don't understand, it's probably just the French or the Italians being la-dee-da about their particular region. All right, let's move on to price. Come on, I know a place.
The price range.
We're here. I can tell by the name on the sign.
Liquor.
Now, don't embarrass me, I didn't bring my ID. Fiddle-tee-dee, look at all these bottles. So many options.
Yeah, where do you start?
Ooh, a cheeky $200 bottle. And here,
$200 bottle.
a $20 bottle. Now, I bet this $200 bottle tastes way better, right? Like, it's got to be 10 times better than this one. That's just basic math.
I did have, there was a wedding, and of course the champagne there, the wine there, the drink there, very more on the expensive side. I didn't like it. I've drunk some cheap wine before. I mean, whatever can get you there quicker.
You uncultured swine!
My sister is big on wine, and she tells me all about it. I just don't understand it. Alcohol is alcohol. Yeah, they all taste differently, but they all give you the same effect. You're gonna be feeling like shit the next day.
You choose one. Oh, no. Well, it was supposed to be a trick question, but they both taste pretty similar, right? There's not some threshold that you get to where it gets more expensive, and then it tastes better, and then more expensive again, and it tastes even better, until it gets so expensive and so incredible.
There's $2,000 bottles of wine?
Ever had before.
Oh, shit.
Break through the conditioning. This is just old grape juice. Now, if you're a little bi-curious about a more expensive bottle, sure, why not?
Gold letters grace the label, hand engraved by goldsmiths. Famed wine critics described the
Mr.
taste
Luxury.
as mind-boggling.
But realistically, after about $60, the flavor doesn't get much better. In fact, it plateaus out and it can even go down.
Also, do more expensive wines taste better? Oh, evidence. Okay, this is where they source. I made it up. Oh, okay. Never mind.
The best quality to price ratio is all the way over here, much lower, about $20. That's how much you should spend on a bottle of wine. Now, some people will say
that I'm putting my heart and soul into this thing. I'm making an art, a form of art. How much is that worth? How much is art worth?
about $20. The Vintage.
The longer it's been sitting there type of thing? Like,
A couple of
since
prominent
1872
slender necks.
type thing?
And they're the same price as well. But this one is from 2019, and this one is from 2022. Well,
Aged like fine
surely
wine?
the older one is the better one.
I don't know.
Right?
Right.
No. Many people think that wine aging goes like this, and the flavor just keeps getting better over time. Wrong, wrong, wrong! The wine at the store has already been aged at the winery. I don't need to be more aged by sitting on this shelf and just collecting dust, or spending years at the back of your pantry at home. If I'm for sale, I'm ready to be consumed. I'm ready to have your hot lips wrapped around me.
Okay.
In fact, the general rule goes a corked bottle should be drunk within 5 years, and a capped bottle within 1 year. Come, there's more.
Okay.
Let's pretend I am a waiter at a restaurant. You happen to be wearing a shirt, and so I have mistaken you as a paying customer. As a waiter, the first thing I will press you about will be food pairings. White wine with fish? A Merlot with pork? Well, kid, I'm gonna have to pair this truth nugget with something you don't want to hear.
Does it
The
matter?
food pairing doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It's all completely subjective. It's cuisine by horoscope.
I guess it's like you wouldn't eat a burger and then drink milk. You could do it, but it just doesn't seem like it goes together, like eating a burger and then drinking a glass of milk. Because I've always heard about the wine and the cheese and the grapes. But you're already eating and drinking the grape. Wait a minute. I don't know. If it tastes good, I want it. Okay? That's about it. That's where I'm at. If it tastes good, I'll eat it.
I get excited about my food, man.
There are some general guidelines that can be useful, but there are so many expectations, and it's also so subjective with, yeah, this, but no, not that, but sometimes actually, yes, this, but it depends on that.
Food astrology.
Food
Pay no
astrology.
attention to the sommeliers in the comments section.
What the fuck is this? Most of this information is wrong. You cannot have a marrowlet with lamb. It is far too heavy. You just can't post misinformation online and think it's fine. If you actually wanted to make this video correctly, you could have reached out to me and I could have helped. You're acting like any food can be paired with any wine and it will be fine. But you are wrong. Oh, man.
They
It's
are
confusing
bullshitting
people.
to upsell.
Get the more expensive one. It goes better with the spaghetti.
Or they are a Pisces and you shouldn't trust their opinion anyway. Something else to expect at a restaurant? Expect to get ripped off by the markup.
Okay.
Most restaurants add a 250 to 300% markup on their wine.
He got me rethinking that whole idea at the beginning of this video. I don't know if I even care anymore. I guess still for the experience, because that's what it was, you know, for the experience, which you get what you pay for kind of thing. It's the atmosphere you're paying for, it's the experience you're paying for, and of course the food. That's how I think anyway. I could be totally wrong.
And the cheaper the bottle, the higher the proportional markup tends to be. So a $20 bottle will turn into an $80 bottle, but a $100 bottle may only rise to $150. Most people get the second cheapest bottle on the menu, regardless of the pairing, and that'll do just fine.
All right.
And that's it. No more tips. Unless you want to leave me one. Oh? Actually, you know what? I got a fucking tip for you, mate. Ad time. I bet you're wondering how I got this cog in my knee. That's because I became the face of Incog, the service that helps you be
Incog.
forgotten on the internet. I used to be a humble florist. One day we received a shipment of forget-me-nots. But inexplicably,
Oh, there's no such difference. Not NordVPN, it's Incog.
I forgot everything that day. My address, my web browser.
What's his name? What's his
where
name?
I worked, what my child's face looked like. I was supposed to pick him up from daycare, so that was kind of embarrassing. I just picked one of the kids that kind of looks like me. Have you ever signed up for some dodgy website? Have you ever dodged up for a legitimate website and they sell all your details onto a dodgy website? That's where I come in. Incogni man. And anonymous.
Incog, man.
There are data
who is
miners out there, data collectors, creating big servers all around the world. They take your name, your address, and your IP, and together they make a big profile, and that lives forever. I am here to send them annoying legal notices to tell them to fuck off. Take Steve off your database. European law this, American law that. Go to incogni.com/internet to get 60% off an annual plan. The cog signal. I swoop into the data centers. Legal notice. Tangle up their processes with admin. Who are you? I don't know.
He's incognito. He don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Incogni nam.
Incogni.
Incogni.com/internet
Incogni.
Incogni man. Remember me?
NordVPN.
Yes. No. Who's the kid?
Je suis très affamé, monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
Whoa, that's a good deal. Ad over.
Alrighty.
Welcome to the Wine Underground. We have our meetings here because it stays at a very pleasant temperature. You know, us wine masons, we control everything. We are few, but many. That doesn't make sense. Look at the back of this bottle. See the No Fat Chicks logo?
Pregnant, right?
We put that there. It is the symbol of our organization. We have a dirty finger in every glass of government and corporation stuff. If you cross us, whoops, perhaps you'll have a little accident. Last year, Little Upstart tried to make wine actually taste good. You know, like how grape soda does. Cut him up so good he had to get stitches. We caught one reporter trying to dig around into our operations. We all know how that one ended.
Well,
With an airstrike. All right, my little juice box. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Why is champagne called champagne? Well,
There's
I'll
a
tell
difference.
you.
Champagne.
It all
Wine.
began in 1668. In the Abbey of St. Peter in northeast France, there's something spooky going on.
Champagne.
Springtime. And in the cellar where they keep
Champagne
all the
tastes
wine,
with the bare budget.
bottles would suddenly, unexpectedly, explode. Now this was especially common during morning mass. Ho ho, that's a bad omen. Sometimes the explosions would cause little chain reactions, and bottle after bottle would break down the line, ruining the majority of the crop. The peasants were frightened and also parched.
Sacre Bleu, lay wine. What is happening?
The monks would refer to this as the devil's wine.
Lay wine is cursed.
Le God, he must be anger at us. We need a hero.
In walks Dom Perignon. He is just the man for the job.
Okay.
A Benedictine monk at the abbey. He's got a new role, the cellar master. And it's his mission to find out what the hell is going on here. So Dom starts looking at all the bottles. And what he figures out pretty quickly is that the wine itself is releasing gas. The gas builds up pressure and... Why that is happening, he doesn't know. But it's his job to stop it.
So you change the
gets
bottle?
to work, trying all sorts of things to stop his mortal enemy, the bubbles. In the first year, he tried insisting that only the youngest grapes be picked.
Perhaps this will stop your bubbles.
And it didn't. The next year, he changed up how the grapes were pressed.
Push harder, we'll squeeze out the bubbles.
Son of a bitch. He tried picking the grapes very early in the morning and no other time. Nope. And on and on. The bubbles would win the battle every year. For 8 long years, he tried all sorts of different things. And no strategy worked. No, the bubbles.
It's the bottle, right? You gotta change the bottle? Maybe, I don't know.
Until one day, hey, what if the wine is still fermenting? So he takes a couple of the bottles and he opens them and, it is. We ferment the wine. Once it's done, it goes into the bottle. How does it then start fermenting again? How is that possible? And here the mystery was solved. So it turns out in North France they have very fast changing seasons. And owing to that, the yeast doesn't actually get time to do its job. Instead, it would get cold very quickly in the winter and all the yeast would go dormant. Then the winemakers would go, oh brilliant, fermentation slowed down, it must be done. They would then bottle it and they would store it. But once summer came back around, the process would spring back to life and carbon dioxide would build up and... Okay, he thinks, I cannot change the climate. Perhaps I shall not win the war against the bubbles. Now, the bubbles are his enemy, and he has another enemy. The English. Therefore, the enemy of his enemy or something. Anyway, he starts talking to the English, and he goes, hey, how do you guys stop your bottles from exploding? And the British go,
You what, mate? Core! Well, peep at how thin the bloody glass be in it. Thin glass is the problem.
The bottle.
Thank you for using this text-to-speech preview. For a paid version, please go to...
See, the English have created new coal-fired bottles with much thicker glass. Then they put a cork in the top, and it allows them to make very foamy beer. That's right, he could just use thicker bottles and he won't have to worry about stopping the bubbles at all. So Dom goes running back to France. He's panting, he's sweating, and there's bits of brie on his shirt. He's going, better bottles, better bottles. Everyone's confused and terrified, but they give it a shot. And
voila.
There it was. The people of France loved it.
I love this.
So where champagne come from?
Royals were enjoying new wine, TM. He even started adding extra yeast and sugar to really get the bubbles
Everything
going.
nice.
And so Dom Perignon had created what we call today champagne. Now, there's a 19th century marketing campaign that says the moment he uncorked his champagne for the first time, he tried it and said, come quickly, I am tasting the stars. But that's actually a myth. He never really said that. But there's still a problem. And this one, Dom cannot fix. The pulp. If you bottle wine while it's still fermenting, so that you can keep the bubbles in, you're also trapping in a bunch of dead yeast and debris and gross particles too. Also, it's all cloudy. No, no, we want it clear. We want it crystal looking. How will we ever solve this problem? Dom dies.
Oh.
1805. In walks Madame Clicquot. She's just the man for the job.
I'm also French. I have come to remove all the little beats. I will clench my teeth together and go pitu back into the bottle.
Now, Madame Clicquot was a very shrewd lady. Her husband died when she was in her early 20s.
My husband is dead. Lol.
And part of the estate she was bequeathed included a winery. She immediately got to work, making it into a successful business.
I shall invent a process called lay riddling.
Here's what you do, right? You put these bottles on a rack at a 35-degree angle with the top facing down. Every 2 days, she would give the bottle a little shake and slightly increase the angle. After 8 to 10 weeks, all of the sediment would come to rest in the neck of the bottle. All right, quick tangent.
Wow.
Did you know that when you increase the salt concentration in water, you can drop its temperature down much lower without it freezing? Tangent over. So she takes this sub-zero salt water and dips the neck of the bottle in there, then lets it sit until the neck freezes. Now you have a sort of frozen cork until the neck freezes.
If it is part of the process, that came later. Riddling is just the tipping upside down. Okay.
Until the neck freezes. Now you have a sort of frozen cork filled with all of the gross pulp, and then you simply pop off the top. And the whole thing goes shooting out as a fun prank for your friends and family. Then they add in a little more extra base wine and sugar and leave it to age. And with that, Clicquot has just created a clear, sparkling wine.
Wow.
And that is riddling. And
Pretty
Madame Clicquot is
The Riddler.
So Dom Perignon and Madame Clicquot are both credited as the godfather and godmother of champagne. Today, the Dom and Clique brands are owned by LVMH, the same parent company that owns Louis Vuitton, Tag Heuer, Tiffany & Co., Hennessy. Actually, pretty much every luxury brand. But why is it called
champagne?
Well, that's because it comes from the Champagne region, you dummy. Sparkling Champagne region, you dummy. And anything else with bubbles is just sparkling wine.
All right, end of part. Champagne, wine. What's next, though?
Oh, it's you. I was just looking out over the sunset. You know how it is. Thinking about stuff that happened in the past. I remember it all too well. It was literally 1984.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet. Yeah, that's good to know.
I was walking home
1 year behind.
parents from the opera.
Come on, keep up. We're nearly there.
Hey, let's take a little
Batman,
shortcut, they said.
We can cut through here.
We were walking down a well-lit alleyway. It was nothing but quaint restaurants and bistros. Then suddenly, a man holding a bottle of Shiraz came out of nowhere. "Just a tipple," he said. I was terrified. I knew nothing about wine. "Go on," he said. My hands were shaking, knees weak, arms heavy.
Comment on your sweater, Mom Spaghetti.
Wouldn't you say? Ooh, very good tannins. Oh, really? Yep. What's a tannin? I don't know. My parents died from embarrassment right there on the spot.
Mommy! I'm sorry, Daddy.
Just a tipple. It's too late for me, but I don't want the same thing to happen to you. That's why we have to learn about how to serve wine.
All right.
So you've bought a bottle of wine to show your friends and family how successful and sophisticated you are. Did you know that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa? So let's go through how to serve the big three. White, red, and champagne. Let's say you've bought champagne.
Whoa.
That bottle goes in the fridge. Champagne is served.
I don't know, when I watch that movie, I always laugh at that scene. I don't be meaning to, but good movie though. 1408, if you didn't know. Good movie. My bad.
That bottle goes in the fridge. Champagne is served cold always. To open, peel off the foil and do not aim it at your face. Then twist off the metal thing. If you want people to think you're fancy, use the proper word, muselet.
Oh, I don't know that.
It helps to contain the pressure. Again, don't aim this thing at your face. It's really worth repeating. The PSI inside a champagne bottle is 70 to 90. That puts it in the same league as a nail gun. So the cork comes out at about 50 miles an hour. And if you're in a house, you want to hold onto it very firmly with your hand. If you're Bezos, or you just won the Grand Prix, fling it over some ladies. But if you want to be really fancy, you can use a sword.
Yeah, I see a lot of people break that,
This
though.
has been a tradition for a couple hundred years, popularized by Napoleon. After each victory, the army would use their sabers to crack one open for the boys. But the sword's just ceremonial. You can use pretty much any blunt object to knock off the top. A phone, a shoe, this fish head.
Oh, wow.
If it's
I've never seen anybody actually do it. I've seen everybody break the bottles.
the glass type should either
Tilt
be
it too,
a
right?
tulip or a flute. Although, if you've seen The Great Gatsby, you may notice that they use these. Up until the mid-1900s, people used coupes.
Coupes.
That's because, back in the day, excessive effervescence wasn't very cool. So these cups helped actually dispel the bubbles faster.
People didn't want to be embarrassed by burping. Okay.
Dispel the bubbles faster.
Okay.
In fact, sometimes they'd even use a small whisk or a fork to dissipate all the bubbles. Now, there's actually an old myth that the shape and size of the coupe was molded from one of Marie Antoinette's buboes.
All right.
But it's probably not true.
Probably not, but could be.
Eventually, bubbles became a fancy feature, so the flute was adopted. They can be made from glass, but preferably
learning about
they're
the
made
glasses
from crystal,
too, huh?
so that they shimmer as much as possible. And the best flutes would also feature a small rough spot right there at the center of the glass at the bottom to create a sort of tornado of bubbles.
Wow.
Anyway, as you pour, tilt sideways so
tilt.
it isn't all head.
That's like with
and
beer,
don't
too.
Pour more than 2/3 full.
It's the fizzy part, I think. I don't know why. I just learned that.
White wine is best served chilled too. 10 to 15 degrees though, not fridge cold. Use a small glass bowl and pour to about half full. And when you drink, do a little sniff test.
Yeah, why?
And aerate it a bit. Then hold
Aerate
it
it?
down low on the stem so your hands don't heat up the liquid.
These are just ways of drinking. It's not necessary to drink like that because call me I guess uncultured. Throw that bitch in the glass and drink it. Or throw it in a plastic cup and drink it. Either way, it's going in the belly.
Up the
You
liquid.
got your wine.
If it's not to your taste, cut it with 50% Sprite,
Sprite.
and add a few ice cubes.
And ice. Really?
Done. Reds. Red wine is...
Red wine is not allowed in our house anymore.
Although, if you don't want to wait, you can just pour it into a decanter. That does the same thing. To drink from, we want a big bowl on a stick.
A big
So you
bowl
get
on
a
a
full face of the aromas of the grape blood. When you pour the thing, fill it about 1/3 full. That's pretty much it. However, when it comes to wine snobbery,
You don't do that with
red wine snobbery is at the top of the Maslow hierarchy.
Crushed white rock. It's like almost like a rock quarry.
Oh my god, shut up. And there's a taste testing thing that people do, and they all go a bit mental, and it's kind of gross, and it looks dumb. But if you think you're ready for the ultimate test, ready to take the one-chip challenge of enology,
No, I'm not ready.
then here's how you do it. When the waiter comes over, insist on taking a teensy sample. Inspect for color, clarity, and legs. Legs refers to how viscous the wine is. Smell it. Smells like a red wine. Swirl it around on the table, making a loud scratching noise so that everyone knows you're a connoisseur.
Swirling the wine glass is almost like turning up the volume on the stereo.
When you taste it, you're supposed to get it over every part of your mouth, so that when you brush your teeth later, it's awful. Then take in big sips of air.
Wait,
This
what?
is where you comment on the texture and taste. Complex notes! You yell across the room. Now this is the best part. You can just make shit up about vanilla smatterings or citrusy undercurrents. I swear, There's a hint of blueberry.
I know this is off subject, but he's showing this scene, and I remember this scene. And this was one of those scenes where it's like, wow, you actually had one of those moments where you felt really human. I don't know. I've always found that interesting. He wasn't a married man or anything, didn't have any children. He was just him. And, you know, it kind of gave him a little intimacy about himself. Either way, this is not about that, but since I see it.
It's one of those things that's kind of true, but subjective enough that no one can really refute you. So make a big show of it.
There is a little bit of an earthiness, almost a graphite clay note to this.
It's a little bit meaty. It's a little bit sort of rustic.
So you're drinking meat and rust?
Tastes like paint and wood.
People be doing too much for me. Like I said, I'm a simple person. It's too much. I'm not fancy.
If this is a taste test and you're sampling dozens of wines, you want to spit out the sample into this gross bucket so you don't get too drunk. Do not ask the waiter if you can drink from the bucket. It's the waiter's privilege, and he's very protective of it. And that is how to serve wine.
All right.
Okay, that's a lot of shitting on wine, people.
And we shouldn't get bullied.
But let me do a quick 180. Because overall, wine is good. And a little wine snobbery can be good also.
I guess.
Being into wine is one of the great dad hobbies.
Moms are invited too, huh?
Train set in your basement.
Lego set.
Complete with a little walking path and the grass just right. The best part about this hobby is building the thing, getting it just perfect, and then making people sit there while you explain the little trains in excruciating detail of how they work. Now, the fun of Warhammer, that's when you save up for the little space marine man, you take him out of the packet, you put on a podcast with some Warhammer in the background.
Of all the Primarchs, Horus is the best kisser.
And you slowly paint it yourself.
I have a very fulfilling life.
I am making your silver pants blue.
And then you argue with your mates later about why the necrophiles are the best race. There are people that spend like tens of thousands of dollars on coffee machines and equipment.
Hey. If I could, I would. The coffee is very important, and I would spend a little pretty penny on a nice coffee machine. Now, will I spend that $1,000? I don't know. But I would like to have a nice coffee machine in my lifetime. There are some things that people spend a little pretty penny on, and yes, coffee machines, I agree with that. The other things, not my money. Nope, not for me.
And then it takes like an hour to make a coffee, and it's like only 5% better, maybe, than the ones you get at the cafe. Now, I could be Mr. Killjoy and come in and go, what's the point of that? Why not just buy it from the cafe? Why not just get a pre-painted Space Marine? Why not have someone else just install the train set? But then there's no ceremony, there's no fun, there's no hobby. Wine is very similar.
Yep.
They're getting a little bit too obsessive about the thing and being like...
Some lemon zest as well, lemon pith. Super tangy.
Is the purpose of wine. It's the fun of wine. Which is why wine is better than just some old grape juice. And you fucking wine loser snobs, you know what? You're all right.
You wine loser snobs.
And that's about it. There's just one last thing left. The practical. Come on, my little nouveau biche. I booked out a whole restaurant. They serve some of the best blue whale caviar here.
Blue whale caviar?
All right, you did it. You sat through the whole video without crying. I think this calls for a toast.
Don't break it.
Steady now. Whoop. Uh-oh. I can't believe
Here we go again.
But it's okay. I feel like we're becoming close friends who can keep secrets and stuff.
Yeah, I won't
and
tell
because
you.
we're such close friends, I'm going to keep teaching you things. That's right. You're going to be just like me.
But at the beginning, you said I was just like you.
Cannot tell which of this is blood and what's wine. By the way, this is the second video. If you haven't seen the first one, which is on Fancy at the Theatre.
I love the theater.
Go look at it over here. But there's also Fancy, the Arts, on Incognito. That's already live. And there's the next Incognito on its way. Do not forget story mode. Do not forget Incogni. And do not forget to dream.
To dream. I will. I don't understand the wine thing. I don't get it. But as he said at the very end, which is very nice, even though he called them snob losers, it's something you do, it's something you enjoy. You know, everybody got that one thing they will spend their money on because they enjoy it, you know? Some people gamble their money away. Hell, they enjoy it. You win some, you lose some, but you live. You live to fight another day. But there we go, Blaze Squad. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you place the like button. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, go ahead and comment. And I'll see you guys in the next one.